Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass Smooth. And for today's episode, we are back for the very first game of the season. It is our second season in charge, of course, and thankfully haven't been fired after last season. And as you can tell, the job stability has gone up a little bit. Gone back up to stable, but of course, last season's disappointment are still fresh. So, very much not completely stable just yet. And of course, the board are very unhappy with a number of things, mainly club finances. And we'll discuss that in just a second. We're back up to 15 million. We had a huge loss last season of 75 million, and it had nothing to do with wages. It was just the way the club were run. This season, though, they've such a big dip in the wage budget available, so now I'm apparently in the red 150k despite selling a few players. And we'll talk about which players we have and which players we've let go. But the good news is, of course, that we're stable. It's 45%. But yeah, we have to obviously keep in mind the promises we made, which was to ignore all of this. Of course, a number of players are upset after last season, so they're asking for, European football or Champions League football in particular. But mainly, this is the one that matters. I've got about a month to, give a good impression on Peter Lim, the one who's in charge of the club, the chairman. That's the word. And so we do have to start off the season strongly with a number of good wins. So every game literally does matter. In terms of the squad, this is the squad we've got for this season. And let me reorganize it to show you guys a little bit better. We do have two goalkeepers in Matthew Ryan as well as Diego Alves. Matthew Ryan was out on loan last season. He got back, and it looks like he's the club's first choice keeper ahead of Diego Alves. It's a little bit weird that now it's showing Diego Alves, but there you go. Thomas Albeck is actually the staff member we can trust in terms of judging ability. So we've demoted Diego Alves, but of course we'll still get plenty of game time, hopefully through cup competitions. D'Ambrosio, I think we already saw him last season. Danilo, he had a huge injury, out for about 11 to 12 months, and now that's down to 4 to 5. Unfortunately, because we don't have anything that we can offer, we can't even bring in players on loan because of a transfer budget right now. Since we're in the red, so we had to just promote a youngster, and that comes in the form of Jose Javier Alcazar, who's traditionally a centre back. So it's not good to put, you can kind of get away with a fullback role, or even defensive fullback role, but when it comes to wing back, you just need a lot more from him. And unfortunately, because we can't sign anyone else, he's just gonna have to do a job for us there. Damian Perez is the player who he signed, for free. He's valued at 9 million, which is great. He's considered a decent player for the division, and that's kind of the only players we're able to target right now. But it also helps that because, we've got Jose Gaya, who's our youngster, who we really hope to become a top fullback. So that kind of helps in that sense. But yeah, Damian Perez is supposed to be a backup. He's injured for a little bit with the pulled hamstring, but he'll be back sooner than later. Garay, Santos, Vezo and Badal are our centre backs. Vezo got back from his loan last season, and so thankfully he slots in there. Otherwise we'd only been left with two centre backs, and he's capable in the division. Hopefully he'll improve a little bit as well. The unfortunate area that we needed improvement in as well was centre back, where Badal has to come in even though he's not ready for the division at all. And the reason is, of course, we're missing a centre back, and again, because of finances, we can't really sign anyone. We've got Enzo Perez playing as a defensive midfielder this season, as well as Carlos Soler. He's one of our youngsters who's come in from the youth team, and he's potential to be one of the best players in the club. I'd rather play him as a deep line playmaker on support. Unfortunately for him, we've got that position sorted out, so he'll be playing as a backup to defensive midfield until we can sort out something later on, when we actually do have some money to move some players about. Parejo and Medron are going to be players who play as a deep line playmaker. Both are very capable, especially as a support duty, so it's perfect for us. In terms of wingers, we got way too many after some of the players got back from loan. So we've retrained Carmona and Orellana as central midfielders on attack duty. Carmona is still getting used to it. But they're very capable, of course. They might not entirely be comfortable with the role, but attributes-wise, they're sorted. And so that leaves us with the actual wingers of Nani, Piatti, Bacali and Rodrigo. Piatti is also another player who came back from loan. So thankfully I haven't had to, even though I needed the numbers, I needed to make huge investments in the squad. But at least the players who got back from loan are good enough to play for the team. It's a bit weird that they've been sent out on loan. Negredo's another player who got back from loan. He's going to be playing as a backup striker. Santi Mina is apparently the better striker, and of course he suits the false 9 role a little bit better than Negredo does. Now, this is what I want to talk about in terms of finances. We have players on ridiculous contracts and players who are on basically peanuts in terms of comparison. So if you just have a look here, for example, Nani 180k, it's going to be really tough to offload him, but I'm hoping to do that because of the wage budget issue, or maybe even Negredo 110k for a rotation option doesn't make too much sense. And then as you can see, there's just a huge difference between the finances. So you've got someone who like Carlos Badal, or actually Carlos Soler rather, who's ready for the first division, and he's very capable of playing for us. He's only on 2,900 in comparison to someone like Nani who's playing 180k. So we do have a huge pay gap, and we do kind of need to bring down our wages to about 40k. I think that's what we can actually afford at the moment per player. But yeah, I mean, that's just the reality of what we have to deal with right now. I mean, even look at Santos. He's been a player for us for a while now, and he's actually a starter now, and he's only on 7k in comparison to Garay, who's also a starter, and he's on 83k. So we have to slowly weed out the more expensive players. The issue is, of course, if I do sell players like Nani or Negredo, then I'm going to be left with spots to fill my squad, and who knows whether the board will invest back that money, because they don't have anything to give me really. So it's going to be a bit tough. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to sell them yet or not, but I might have to be forced into reality to make the wage budget fit. And yeah, training facilities, youth facilities, because of the finances, they started and reached about halfway through, realized they couldn't actually afford it anymore, so they've cancelled it, unfortunately. And they were even upset as well. They apologized and just said they didn't have the finances for it. You can kind of understand, 15 million. And yeah, that's definitely going to drop under as well. So momentarily the projection looked good, but again the balance is going down and turnover's poor as well. So it looks like we definitely have to manage our finances a lot more tighter and slowly rebuild this team. Hopefully, if we do get Europa League football, or even Champions League football for that matter this season, then that would be perfect for us in terms of the in terms of money. But in terms of the league itself, again, it's just qualify for Europa League is the expectation. But the preview thinks that we're going to end in 5th, which is obviously Europa League football, but they don't, they think that we're going to be 5th apparently. Last season we were much further down, so hopefully their preview becomes a reality really. Maybe we can squeeze into a Champions League spot. Either way, the point is we have to perform really well in the first month in charge to actually win back the board. And in terms of the fixtures in that month, or 30 days, I think it's Hispalis, Vigo, Bilbao, Malaga. You can go up to about Atletico Pamplona. So very winnable games here. In particular Pamplona and Hispalis. Bilbao, we beat them last season. Vigo and Malaga we're capable of beating them. Question is whether we can after recent meetings. Hopefully the players are more used to this tactic now, and hopefully we can get off to a good start. So I think we can finally kick off now in the second season in charge in victorious Valencia, where we haven't had too many victories. So the players have to live up to that title a little bit, but hopefully starting today we can step up in that sense. We should be favourites, and we do need to get our second season in charge off to a good start. So they're playing with a very similar formation. Hopefully Salzak comes out on top. We can definitely tell a lot of them. Okay, so we're not favourites apparently, but we can definitely ask our players to get revenge. Looks like the games I said that are winnable are not necessarily winnable. But yeah, every game will be tough. I need to quickly change it back. Settings that you have for friendlies when you don't really pay attention. And there you go, and we're off. Alright, Real Hispalis. I'm looking for any type of win. Don't really care if it's 5-4 or 1-0, whatever it is. Anyways, guy on the ball. Supposed to be better at keeping possession. Nani as well, because he's either footed, we will be switching him over into the left flank instead to accommodate our other players that have been brought into the squad. We'll actually have a look at the players that we sold. I only talked about the current squad, but we'll have a look at the players that we sold as well. We had the number of players who got back from their loans, loans that were made before me. And so when they got back, we just had too many numbers, and of course it helps with the wages. Apparently we got a penalty, so that's perfect for us. Piatti doing well on his return to the club. But yeah, in terms of Nani and selling him, he's just considered a good player for the league. He's not considered a star or even leading player for that matter, so it's not going to be a huge loss. My only issue is whether we can replace him with someone, and that is a big problem. Him and Negredo both, I don't think, I think if we sell both, the board would be very happy, but I don't, getting their wages off is going to be really tough. Is that in? That's not really in. Great. Thank you, Perejo. Amazing from you. I think he's missed his last 2 pens. I'm going to have to reconsider, actually setting our penalty takers. I like to leave the players to do it themselves, and then if they perform poorly, I'll just set it myself. So Perejo started off taking pens really well, but then he started to perform poorly, so I have to take him off. Another good thing, about Nani that I was saying, not in terms of just wages, he does have good preferred player moves, like cut in from both wings, which we need from inside forwards. Mina? Yes. What a ball from Carmona, playing in that central midfielder on attack role. But Nani's, in terms of his attributes and how he's comfortable with the role, he's not necessarily too comfortable with it. He's actually more comfortable playing a winger role, and the winger role actually suits him more. It's just his preferred player moves that doesn't do as well. Also, when he plays an inside forward, you have to have key decision making, and Nani's decision making is really poor. I think it's like at 8 out of 20, and considering he's a developed player already, that's not too good at all. There's no way he's going to improve on that. I mean, it just doesn't really suit him too well. Like, you either tell him to not have that preferred player move and play him as a winger, which we don't want to do. We like our inside forwards. There's also the issue that Nani, in the report section at least, the coaches seem to think he's inconsistent, and I'll definitely agree with them after performances from last season. So there is some good news in selling him off in that manner, but of course, again, if we don't have the numbers, we can't compete. And Negredo as well, it's the same thing. He won't be too huge a loss in terms of ability, but again, if we can't replace him, then what's the point? Either way, Hispalis look to really get their equaliser here, and hopefully they don't do so, because in particular we missed the penalty. Playing well though, and Gaia looks to have made a mess of it a little bit. I guess he did put a good tackle in, but just kind of bounced back in their favour, and they did well to actually tuck that way. Ryan's completely unlucky really to have to deal with that. He did initially well to save it, but just couldn't put it past the post enough. Maybe not strong enough wrists, I suppose. Fell really well for Castro though. Ryan was going in a different direction entirely. And Real Hispalis get their equaliser. Can we get the winner is the question. I've completely outplayed them though in terms of stats, but obviously, like we always say, the only one that matters is the one here in the top left corner. And so far it's just 1-1. Can we score from this corner? Piatti. Decent ball in, but he's going to get a second chance. What's he going to do here this time? Runs into the box and tries to shoot instead. That's a really good shot, and their goalkeeper Adan got down really quickly, to be honest. That's some good speed on him. That was a bullet of a shot. That should be pretty much the end of the highlight really. I don't think he'll going to amount to anything. Adan, quite sure that was that match engine, but that was a bit weird how he saved that. Either way, Perejo, penalty misser. Gaia, cutting inside as well. It's a bit weird for a wing back. I'll have a look at his preferred player moves, but I don't think he did. Piatti hits the crossbar. That was one hell of a shot though. It looks like he's going to be a good well, actually he didn't buy him, but he's going to be good that he's back with us the way he's playing so far in today's game. So we're going to go into half time by the looks of it with a draw so far, so I think we'll switch it up and go a little bit more attacking, go into control, try and really dominate this game, to be honest, and maybe we can spur the players on some more as well. I think considering we're not favourites, we should. Oh, okay. Apparently, piss the players off by telling them that I'm pleased with how things are going. We weren't favourites, so it kind of made sense. I guess hopefully they take their anger out on the opposition instead of me. That's great, that's perfect team talk. Normally that works. I'm not sure why it didn't work this time. It's probably because we're not naturally favourites, but we're probably the players consider themselves to be a bigger club, and so they got upset. Guess that's where your football knowledge comes in, isn't it? I have no clue whether Real Hispalis are good or not. I really just watch the Spanish league whenever Barcelona and Madrid are playing, or both the Madrid teams are facing off. And that's where it helps playing in the Premier League, because I know every little club. Anyways, Carmona on the ball. Mina, good ball into Piatti. And yes, he makes it count this time. No crossbar, no post, no nothing. And that's his first goal of the season. And that's definitely great play by Mina to set up the goal. Playing his false nine role really well. I think he's really starting to grow into that role now. We're going to get a director's cut of a replay there. Not sure if that was a shot or a cross, but either way, finds Piatti, and we'll take it. 2-1. Okay, we'll look to make some changes in just a second. Nope, no one really needs to come off, so we'll save it for later. It's a weird place to start a highlight, but either way, Ryan's on the ball now. It looks like we will counter that unless Ryan gives the ball away entirely. Hispalis, of course, switching up to a 4-2-4 really, and maybe we can capitalise on their lack of a midfield, as well as how high they're pushing up, rather than them capitalising on our fullbacks going up. Anyways, Alcazar on the ball. Speaking of wingbacks, plays it safely to Pereira. The smart move. Piatti's on the ball, through to Mina. Oh, how can he miss that? I was just saying how he's been scoring and playing well recently in the false nine role. That's the problem with false nines, really. They can assist really well, but the finishing isn't necessarily top notch. But anyways, he's managed to grab himself a goal, to be fair to him, and I think we can look to make some changes. Perejo off for Medran. Carmona, unfortunately, we don't have anyone on the bench for him. And that's it. I mean, maybe we can. No, we can't take off him either. No one on the bench for him either. Either. Piatti maybe. Let's bring on Rodrigo for a little bit. Give Piatti a well-deserved rest. Just make 2 subs now. Let's save the third one for last. Hopefully no one gets injured as well. Make it in about 10 minutes time as always. I just like to make my substitutions in general between the 60th, 70th and 80th minutes as well. And you know, just try and make a sub each time. But sometimes, obviously, some players are tired, some players are performing poorly, that kind of business. Anyways, Garai's done well to get there. Plays it safely back to Ryan. I'm just hoping these 4 here don't punish. You know, because the centre-backs are going to be occupied with the 2 strikers. The defensive midfield will hopefully be here to, you know, deal with them as well. But really, the wingers are my concern, because if our wing-backs really push up, especially on our control. So I might consider switching up to counter, because Hispalis have been playing a bit well. You know, their stats are stepping up a bit, so maybe we should do that. Hope to catch them on the counter. So this way our wing backs are sitting back a little bit, helping out the defense deal with this 4-man threat really, and defensive midfielder should be there as well to do his job. So far though, Santos and Gaia are the players who have performed well. We've also switched up our captain. Diego Alves was our captain quite easily last year, but obviously he's not a starter anymore, so I kind of took it off and made him vice captain and gave Santos the captaincy, because he's gonna, you know, supposed to be a starter anyways. We're only leading by 1, so I don't want to make stupid substitutions, you know, taking off players who need rest but are attacking players, for example. Let's take off Nani for Bakali. He hasn't had the best of games, he's kind of tired, he's looking nervous, so why not see what Bakali can do. The board are also unhappy that I haven't made any young signings for the squad, but the funny thing about that is, first of all, you can't just get young players ready for the first team who aren't, you know, top players, because we need top players first and then we can bring in young players. You know, you need to have a starting 11 of top quality players, and then you can start building backup players who are young and, you know, potential and all that business. And also the second thing that's a bit funny is that we haven't had any money to spend, so, you know, I've only managed to bring in 1 player, and that was because I signed him on a free, and even now I can't even sign anyone on free. I need players who would come to me without paying their wages, basically. I need volunteer players, if at all possible, in the world of football. Anyways, Hispalis are really putting on some serious pressure on us here. We would do well to come out of this game with a win. We need our defenders, they're going to be really tested today, so we need to step up. Ryan again dealing that well. See, we're kind of forcing them into long range shots, which I'm happy with. I'm not too concerned, you know, 20 shots, but they've only had 7 on target. So, you know, nothing to be too concerned about. But again, look at that. Where's he here? This is our fullback. That's our centre back, fullback. And where's our other? Where's that? Seriously? Great. Look at that mess of a formation. Just huge mess. He's going to get all the time in the world, put a good ball into the box, and you know, we're lucky to come away with that if we actually do. Carmona, Rodrigo. Might actually punish them on the counter. Mina, he's going to go probably all the way and take a long shot, which I'm kind of happy to do at the moment. Rodrigo. He did well to kind of dribble it there, but he didn't really wrap his foot around it, I guess you could say. He's not necessarily in the best fitness because he's picked up a little bit of a knock, but it looks like we will come away with the win, which is all that matters at this point. I did say whatever we do, we just need the 3 points, and we need to, you know, keep the board happy as much as possible. We need every possible 3 points. We'll have a look as well what we will show you in the next episode, so definitely congratulate the team. Alright, greens this time, no reds. But yeah, straight up to 5th, so why not? Some teams obviously still have to play, but great start, good way to kick off our season. I think last year we kind of just lost and lost and lost and lost. So hopefully if we do get a good start this time around, we can win the board over. And if we do get European football as well, then possibly we might get some money as well. Peter Lim's supposed to be a billionaire in real life, but apparently he's not too keen to invest any money into the club. I think FFP wise as well, we might be failing. We actually didn't get any taxes at all this year because that's how poorly our finances have been. So you know, that kind of explains it. So we are passing FFP this time, which is good to see. Debts and loans are still, you know, as is. But that's not what I wanted to show you. I didn't even want to show you this at all. What we do need to show you is actually the transfer history. So we did bring in Orellana, was another player who I didn't actually buy. He wasn't out on loan, so it's just the player they bought before me. Damian Perez is a player who I bought in for free. And in terms of selling players, there you go. Dominic, our backup goalkeeper, didn't really need him. He's only considered a decent player for the league, I think, and we already had Ryan, who's considered a good player. It just kind of made sense to get rid of him. Too many numbers. The same with Yoel as well. He's another goalkeeper who we didn't necessarily need either. The unfortunate loss is Tony Lato to Villarreal. So I actually left my director of football to deal with the Valencia B team, you know, re-signing the contracts and all that sort of business, and he decided to not sign anyone, renew anyone. I think he had probably financial issues was the reason. He even let go of the majority of the staff, so I just thought, that's it, I can't lose him, so I tried to give him a contract before his contract expired this summer. And yeah, he was happy with it, but unfortunately Villarreal came in and they bid for him on his release clause, so we had to let him go. You know, I don't have a choice to reject, and so they managed to bring in a player who's supposed to be one of the top left backs, and he would have made a very good player. As you can see, his attributes are perfect for wing back role, and huge loss really. We did need a left back, and I guess it's just good that we managed to bring in someone on a free. But anyways, so yeah, great result. And in terms of when we're back, we do have a couple of games that that we could show you, but we don't want to show you too many games that we did show you last year around, and especially because it's the beginning of the season, there's not any team or any result that necessarily stands out. So we can actually have a look at the season preview again and see who our competitors are for the Europa League spots. We have Bilbao, Villarreal, and you could argue Vigo as well. So do we face any of those teams? We face Atletico Bilbao, that's too soon. I think the more the season goes on, the more clear results will be as well. So I think we can leave it as is for now. We can assume we'll be back. It doesn't make sense to show you Barcelona game. We showed you that last season. Sevilla's the same. Maybe we're back for Eibar. It really depends. It makes a little bit more sense to show you somewhere around here, and hopefully we'll be in a good position by then, and hopefully the board aren't trying to get rid of me. But anyways, that'll be all for today's episode. So if you did enjoy it, then of course please do hit the like button and subscribe for more Daily Football Manager 2017 content. And as always guys, thank you all very much for watching.